Yo, what's up YouTube? My name's Alex, and in this video, I'm gonna be running through what has very quickly become, it's a pretty new book, has very quickly become one of my favorite sports books, and in my opinion, is one of the most profitable books. Every sharp bettor is using it, and if you wanna make money sports betting, you should absolutely be using it. So if you're new to this YouTube channel, my name's Alex Monahan. I started my career as a quantitative trader on Wall Street. So I was trading derivatives like options, pretty complex financial products. I was living in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania was one of the first states to legalize online sports betting. So I started to bet on sports, make money sports betting, realized I liked betting on sports more, and I ultimately quit my job to pursue sports betting. But anyways, the point of this video is basically to run through a new book called ProphetX. So at this point, you know, in the past 5 years, there's almost not a single day where I haven't bet on sports. I've used practically every book you can imagine. You know, I've lived in different states. So basically every fantasy site, Prize Picks, Underdog, Dabble, all of these different sites, every sports book, FanDuel, DraftKings, Ballybet, MGM, I've used them all. So in this video, I'm gonna be talking about ProphetX. So ProphetX is a new peer-to-peer betting exchange. It's legal, available in most states. I'm not gonna say every state. Sometimes I say it's legal in nearly every state, and some people get annoyed. They're like, oh, it's not Nevada, screw you. But anyways, it's legal in most states, which is really nice. So if you're in Texas, Virginia, in most states, you're gonna have access to ProphetX. And ProphetX at the core is a peer-to-peer betting exchange. So there's different types of sports books, right? There's fantasy books like Underdog Fantasy, Prize Picks, Better Picks. These are technically DFS platforms. There's, you know, traditional sports books like Fliff, Rebet, FanDuel, DraftKings. And then there's kind of a new breed of books that have started to launch called exchanges. So what's really nice about exchanges, aside from the fact that they're available in most states, is they have no limits. They have no limits. Okay, so they are peer-to-peer betting sites, right? They're betting exchanges. That's the proper term for them. So when you place a bet on ProphetX, you're not actually betting against ProphetX, you're betting against another person. ProphetX is basically just facilitating trading. So when I used to be a quantitative trader, all trading is done on exchanges, right? So this is kind of what I'm used to. Exchanges are super interesting, right? If you think about a stock exchange, this is a betting exchange. It's pretty similar. So a lot of the concepts I learned as a quantitative trader on Wall Street apply to betting on these exchanges like ProphetX. ProphetX, you know, is arguably the most profitable and exploitable betting exchange in the US. So there were no betting exchanges in the US a few years ago. ProphetX launched maybe a year, 2 years ago. They've kind of pivoted to being available in every state. But basically the way you can think about it is on ProphetX, you're never gonna get limited. That's what's really nice about ProphetX. It's peer-to-peer. So if you're up, I mean, make up some number. If you're up $1 billion on ProphetX doesn't care, right? You're never gonna get limited. You're never gonna get your bet sizes cut down. If you're a sharp, profitable bettor, most of you probably know a lot of these DFS sites and soft books like DraftKings, they can limit you, and they can limit you pretty aggressively, which in my opinion is really frustrating. So for example, DraftKings is a book, you know, I made over $200,000 on, and as I made more money and became a smarter sports bettor, a better sports bettor, my bet size just continued to gradually get cut down. So for example, you can see if I try to bet on Darius Garland, you know, to go over in points, DraftKings is gonna tell me, we're not gonna give you $500, we're only gonna let you bet $39.74. And it's the same thing on some of these, you know, DFS platforms. For example, Dabble. is a DFS platform I started using in January of 2024. In the first month, I made $30,000. I could bet however much money I wanted to, $2,000 on plays. And then they cut my bet size down now to being able to get down like 23 bucks on each play. I mean, I can still make money on Dabble. You can see this year, I've still been profitable on Dabble, although I moved home to Virginia. So, you know, in Virginia, Dabble's not legal, so I don't use it really anymore, except for when I'm traveling. But regardless, what's really nice about these betting exchanges is if you learn how to beat them, you know, you can make money forever. It is scalable. You can bet on, you know, betting exchanges basically however much money you want to. Because again, if you're up $1 billion on ProphetX, they made money off you still. You just took a bunch of money from other people, from other sports bettors basically. It's kind of like poker. So the way that ProphetX works is they charge a 3% fee on winning wagers. So for example, if you're betting at plus 103 odds, you're actually getting plus 100 because you have to remove the 3% fee. So it's kind of like if you play poker, it's kind of like the rake in poker. You can take everyone else's money, right? But the casino is still gonna get the rake. They're still gonna get that small fee. So they don't really care if you're taking everyone else at the table's money because the casino is still making money. So, and if you compare that to DraftKings, right? If I'm up $200,000 on DraftKings, DraftKings has flagged, that means I took 200 grand from DraftKings, right? If I made money, DraftKings lost money. That's why my bet size has been reduced. So these peer-to-peer betting exchanges with ProphetX being the main one, arguably, and it's super exploitable, super profitable. So in this video, I'm gonna be breaking down a bunch of different betting strategies that I use on ProphetX, sharp data-driven strategies. Again, I'm a quantitative trader. You know, when I was a quant on Wall Street, my algorithms made tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of trades a day. Every trade has a small edge, and then you just kind of let the math work itself out. It's not like as a quantitative trader, you don't just go into work and say, I think Facebook is going up, let's buy Facebook, right? That's not how financial markets work. That's not how they work. That's definitely not what my job was like. So all of the betting strategies I'm gonna go through are data-driven, proven, you know, backed with math strategies. Like this is how the pros win. This is how the sharps win, the syndicates win. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it doesn't require time, but if you learn and understand these strategies, you can absolutely make money on ProphetX. So I'll include a link below to sign up for ProphetX. They have a $200 sign up bonus when you first register. So basically, you know, you deposit $200, you get cash back as you bet through the money. So again, sportsbook sign-up bonuses are super lucrative. It's the easiest money you'll ever make. All these books are competing for new customers, so they all run these sign-up bonuses, which oftentimes are super profitable. So take the $200 from ProphetX. But without further ado, I kind of want to keep this video brief. I'm going to try to keep it brief. Sometimes I can talk and I apologize. But I'm going to get into how I use betting exchanges to find profitable bets, to find plus EV wagers. And again, if you can learn to make money on ProphetX and NoVig, you are going to be extremely profitable long term. No limits, no bans. You're never going to get cut off. It's awesome. Life's good. So definitely, you know, watch this video. If you enjoy this type of content, please like, please subscribe to the channel, and also just comment any questions you have, as well as other video ideas. You know, I like sports betting, as you may know. I'm always live streaming, tweeting out bets, tweeting out sports betting strategies. So if you enjoy this type of content, you know, let me know other video ideas as well as questions you have. And yeah, let's get into ProphetX. So on ProphetX, which is a betting exchange, once again, there's two ways to get action down. Number one, you can take orders, and number two, you can make orders. You can make orders that other people can fill or bet against. So I'll give you an example. Currently, the Cavs Pacers, the market is plus 325 Pacers, minus 345 on the Cavs. So if I wanted to, I could just go to ProphetX. I could bet, $1,000 on the Cavs at minus 345 and call it a day. But let's go through how you can make orders. So what I could do is I could say, I do like the Cavs, but I don't like them at minus 345. So this is something, you can't do this on any sports book. You can't do this on DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, only on ProphetX, only on betting exchanges. So what I could do is I could say, I don't want to take minus 345. I want to see if I can get a little bit better of odds. I can make an order for minus 335 Cavs. As you can see in this little video example, I'm making an order for Cavs at minus 335 and putting down $100 on it. So again, ProphetX charges a 3% fee on winning wagers. That's just the price you're paying for being on a book, right? That's never gonna limit you, where you can make orders, do all these things. That's how ProphetX makes money. They're not making money off you. DraftKings, FanDuel, PrizePicks, they're monetizing you. It's a zero-sum game. If you make money, PrizePicks loses money. If you lose money, PrizePicks makes money. So PrizePicks wants you to lose money. On ProphetX, it's obviously very different. On ProphetX, they don't really care. They just want you to use the platform. So if I put down $100 on the Cavs at minus 335, I don't have a bet on yet. What I need is I need somebody to take the other side. I need somebody to take Pacers plus 335 for $29. If I'm betting $100 at minus 335 odds, it's to win 29 bucks in profit. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm offering to the market Pacers money line at plus 335 for a specific amount of money, which is called liquidity. So I'm offering Pacers plus 335 for 29 bucks. So there's two options. There's two things that can happen. Number one, somebody could fill my order, right? If somebody fills my order, then I have a bet on. I'm on the Cavs minus 335. On the other hand, if we get to game time and nobody has taken my bet, right? Or somebody offers better odds on the Cavs, if lines move towards the Pacers, whatever. If somebody doesn't take the other side of my bet, which is 29 bucks on Pacers plus 335, my bet will just cancel at the start of the game. So if nobody fills me at the start of the game, then I don't even have a bet on, right? I basically just made an order. Everyone said, nah, I don't want that. And then the game started, so everything's canceled. Kind of like if you were trying to sell your house and you go around, you try to sell it and everyone says, no, we're not buying it, we're not buying it, we're not buying it. You're kind of, you started with what you came with kind of thing. So you can make orders, you can take orders. Almost all of the time I'm taking orders. Making orders, in my opinion, is a lot of work, right? Because you got to remember, like, if I make an order on the Cavs minus 335 and it's announced that Darius Garland, is still injured and he's not going to be playing, then lines may move massively. The Cavs may move to minus 250 and I'm stuck with I'm stuck with Cavs minus 335 because somebody else can fill me really quickly, right? Can take the other side of my bet, Pacers plus 335, if I don't remove it in time. So overall, you can definitely make money by making orders at advantageous prices. It's just a more active process, right? It's a more active process. You could make orders to try to work into arbitrage, risk-free betting opportunities. But again, if the lines move, you have to constantly kind of be monitoring everything to make sure you're not getting screwed. So in general, I'm just taking orders on ProphetX, although I have had some decent success making orders. Again, it's just more time intensive. So in general, I'm making orders. So let me show you kind of exactly how these exchanges work and how I determine, what bets I want to place, bets with an edge, things like that. So let's get to the point. I didn't realize how long the first two clips took to film. Two main pros of betting exchanges. The first one is you can get a lot of money down. Granted, This only really matters if you have a massive, massive bankroll, you're a sharp bettor, you want to become, a professional sports bettor, then that's useful. For most people, it obviously doesn't matter. But for example, on a lot of bets, a lot of bets, if I wanted to bet on the Pacers at +9, I could get down over $20,000 on ProphetX at -109. There is not a single sports book. There's not a single sports book in the country that would take a $20,000 bet from me or any other halfway decent sports bettor who has a brain and isn't placing a 50-leg parlay that's extremely negative EV. The second pro of betting exchanges is really good prices. So again, OddsJam is automatically going to factor in the 3% fee on ProphetX. So if you look right now at the Cavs-Pacers game, NoVig, which is a betting exchange, is offering the best price on the Cavs, really low juice, really low spread. ProphetX is offering the best price on the Pacers, and that's really common. So if you want to place a bet, almost always, both of these betting exchanges are available in nearly all states. Almost always, you are going to get the best possible price on either NoVig or ProphetX. And the reason is, if you think about it, on betting exchanges, they are competitive markets. The best price wins. So when I was a quant trader, if I made a $10 bid to buy something and somebody else bid $11, I lost. I'm never going to get any business because I don't have competitive prices. Right? So these are competitive markets. Whoever is offering the best price will get their bets filled. On the other hand, take a sports book like FanDuel, right? Like they're a monopoly. They set their own odds and they don't really care. FanDuel has tons of customers. They do tons of advertising, right? They have a monopoly. They set their prices. Nobody can tell them to lower their juice, lower their VIG. Whereas on ProphetX and NoVig, sometimes you'll see 1 cent wide markets, right? Really tight markets, very competitive pricing. Monopoly versus competitive market. Sportsbooks are monopolies. They have a monopoly on prices and odds. Betting exchanges, competitive, free markets, best price wins. So basically almost any bet you want to lock in, obviously getting good prices makes a big difference long term. Here's a little graphic where if you go 500 and 500, right? 500 wins, 500 losses with a $100 unit size, what your profit and loss would be at different prices, right? So finding value, getting good odds, that's the core of profitable sports betting, and that's only possible on these betting exchanges like ProphetX and NoVig. So now let's get into how I use these betting exchanges to make money, okay? I wanna get into profitable betting strategies. And the first thing I do is I look for crossed markets. Okay, so I'll show you an example right here between ProphetX and Rebet. So because ProphetX has no betting limits, like you could be up as much money as you want, you're never gonna get limited, it unsurprisingly attracts a lot of sharp bettors, a lot of syndicates. So basically what you can do is use the odds on ProphetX and the liquidity available, which I'll explain, I know this is a little confusing, as a source of information to pick off to make money on soft books like Rebet, DraftKings, FanDuel, like regulated sports books. So let me just give you an example. I've explained arbitrage betting in other videos, but basically because all sports books set their own odds, sometimes they get out of sync. And the same goes for betting exchanges. Sometimes a betting exchange is out of sync with a sports book, and you can bet equal and opposite outcomes. So in this example, I could bet Curry's over on ProphetX, I could bet his under on Rebet, and guarantee a risk-free profit. That's arbitrage betting, right? On exchanges, arbitrage betting is great because you're never gonna get limited, no BS like that. You can arbitrage bet, make $1 million in risk-free profit. They don't care, right? So in this example, I could bet on Curry's over on ProphetX, his under on Rebet, and make a risk-free profit. So we know for a fact, one of these two bets has to be profitable. right? If I can bet the over on ProphetX, hedge, bet the under on rebet, which is a book legal in basically every state, and guarantee a profit, I bet the over on ProphetX, the under on rebet in the proper proportion, just follow an arbitrage calculator, and guarantee a risk-free profit, I know one of these two plays has to be a profitable bet. Because again, I can bet both and guarantee a risk-free profit. Now, what I did want to mention is on ProphetX, again, you're going to see Curry's over is listed at plus 118. OddsJam on the arbitrage tool has it at plus 114. Again, that's because of the 3% fee. If I win my bet on ProphetX, they take out a 3% fee. So I'm not actually getting plus 118. You're actually getting plus 114, but OddsJam automatically filters that in. Regardless, this is still a crossed market, right? This is an arbitrage opportunity. So one of these bets has to be profitable by definition. In this case, what I decided to do is just bet on Curry's under 27.5 points on rebet at minus 112 odds. It actually moved slightly to minus 113, but there's a few reasons, right? First of all, ProphetX, right? It attracts sharper, more profitable customers. So ProphetX is a relatively sharp book, right? I'm using the odds on ProphetX. I know either rebet or ProphetX, right? The over on rebet, or sorry, the over on ProphetX or the under on rebet. One of these two bets is plus EV, positive EV, or profitable, because again, I can bet both and guarantee a profit. That's arbitrage betting. And ProphetX is a pretty sharp book. It has a lot of sharp bettors and syndicates. So I'd lean to bet on the rebet side. Long story short, if you're looking at an arbitrage tool, you put in ProphetX and all the other books you use. If you bet the opposite side to ProphetX, so in this case, it would be Curry's under 27.5 points. One of the two bets has to be profitable by definition. ProphetX is known to be a sharp book, so it's almost certainly the rebet side. That's going to be the plus EV wager. You would make a lot of money long term. Put in FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, whatever books you use, go to the arbitrage tool on OddsJam. You know one of the two plays has to be a plus EV bet. Don't take the ProphetX side, take the other side. That is a winning strategy. I've done that a ton this year and last year, and I made a lot of money with it. Another thing is if you look on ProphetX, you can see that there's about $2,300 in liquidity. So somebody has a strong opinion, right? This isn't $20 in liquidity. Somebody is trying to bet, essentially 2.3K. That's a pretty big bet, so it's most likely a sharp better or a syndicate. Somebody's offering Curry's over at plus 118, which means they're trying to get the opposite side, the under at minus 118 for 2.3K, right? They're trying to bet a lot of money, thousands of dollars on the under. So long story short, it's pretty clear if some sharp bettor is trying to bet the under at minus 118, there's a lot of liquidity, and we can get the under at minus 112 on rebet. We're getting better odds than the sharp bettor who's trying to take a position. So this is a super profitable bet. So you're using exchanges and liquidity as a source of information to pick off, to find profitable bets on these softer books like rebet. There's a sharp bettor who's trying to put thousands of dollars on Curry's under 27.5 points at minus 118, and I have the ability to get it at minus 112 on rebet. So that's what I did. I just locked in the rebet side. I didn't arb this or arbitrage bet this to guarantee a profit. I just took the rebet side. I'm using exchanges and liquidity as a source of information. The more liquidity on ProphetX, the higher confidence I have. Like let's say this said, $200,000. That would mean somebody is trying to bet hundreds of thousands of dollars on Curry's under at minus 118. That person probably has inside information. They're really smart, and we have the ability to get that under at minus 112, which is an absolute no-brainer. So long story short, using exchanges as a source of information is super effective, and you can do that with the OddsJam arbitrage betting tool. The second strategy on ProphetX and NoVig that I love to use, I do it all day long, is I arbitrage bet. I make risk-free money. So in this example on Curry, sometimes there's not that much liquidity, but sometimes I just arbitrage bet. I arbitrage bet ProphetX against rebet. Sometimes even you'll get exchange arbitrage. So again, NoVig is another peer-to-peer betting exchange. Sometimes NoVig will be crossed with ProphetX. You can bet however much money you want. So you'll see sharp bettors, right? These books don't limit, hitting arbitrage bets between ProphetX and NoVig for $100 risk-free profit, $300 risk-free profit. I've even seen some for $1,000 plus risk-free profit arbitrage bets between NoVig and ProphetX, which are the two main exchanges in the US. There's actually a third one called SportTrade, but SportTrade, it's not available in as many states. I think SportTrade is only available in 5 states compared to ProphetX and NoVig, which are in 45, whatever the exact number is. So basically, arbitrage betting, I've made tens of thousands of dollars this year, hundreds of thousands of dollars lifetime, risk-free profit betting with arbitrage when just 2 books have such different odds that you can bet the over, the under, guarantee a profit. Because exchanges have no limits, they allow really high bet sizes, and they have very competitive prices. That has vastly increased the amount of arbitrage betting opportunities in the US, right? I mean, there are days I'll just sit on the OddsJam arbitrage tool. There are days I've made over $1,000 risk-free profit. I hit arbitrage bets nearly every single day between ProphetX and NoVig, or 2 exchanges against each other, or ProphetX and FanDuel. FanDuel I'm max limited on, and I'm still able to make hundreds of dollars arbitrage betting on it because, again, ProphetX and NoVig have allowed there to be so many arbitrage opportunities in the market. So those are the main 2 ways that I make money on ProphetX and NoVig: the crossed market EV betting strategy and arbitrage. I've had some success with making orders. I've also had some success with EV betting into lower liquidity markets where it seems like a recreational customer who's just messing up a line. However, I could get even deeper, but I know this is super niche. We're talking about US betting exchanges. ProphetX and NoVig are nowhere near as popular as, FanDuel, Prize Picks, DraftKings. So I didn't want to get a little too nitty-gritty deep into the math, but again, if you're interested in this type of content, please like the video, subscribe. I can get really deep. I mean, I spent years as a quantitative trader. I have tons of trading strategies for making money in really complex financial markets like derivatives, options, calls, puts. So, I got a lot more to say about ProphetX and NoVig. If people are interested, just let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day or evening. I don't know. Depends, I guess, on where you're watching this. See you guys.